Yep. And that shows how things change, and it shows progress as well. And I think that being comfortable with the process of your own decision making is very important, as is discussing the situation with the right people at the right time, and
Mm.
being open about it. And I think any decision that keeps all the doors open is a good
Yeah.
decision. You know, it's it's a decision about human relationships,
Yeah.
and you don't want you don't want to not have friends, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be in that kind of, it's an extreme example, but nobody wants to be in that kind of position. And so, the secret to good negotiation is sharing the right information with the right people at the right time that allows all the doors to stay open.
Mm.
And with the right people, what you get for doing that with the right people is respect.
Mm.
And you can't put a price on respect, right? I mean, it's invaluable, right?
Yeah.
Respect in business is more valuable than gold, right?
Mm.
Um, Having people who want you to work for them, having people who are prepared to listen to you. These are respectful situations, and from respect comes trust. And no one is quite going to be able to predict everything that is going to happen over the next, you know, 12 months to 2 years. And
Mm.
the world is extremely flexible in its approach to how disposable people are at this moment in time. Nobody knows quite how the rise of things like artificial intelligence are going to change people's ability to perform tasks. In fact, it's not going to, people are not going to grow in their ability. They're just going to give jobs to the technology, and the technology is going to make, just like this, the same way that the robots build cars in factories now, not people, because the
Yeah.
robots do it more accurately. There are certain decisions that are better done by machines. Now, one of these would be perhaps an operating theater in a hospital.
Mm.
Perhaps that would be better done by a machine than a doctor. Perhaps. I don't think the machine or the system should decide who gets the operation. I think that um, there needs to be a very powerful human element in the processes, because there's no substitute. Machines don't feel empathy, right? So I
Mm.
mean that's a giant problem. The the gun the gun will not discriminate, right?
Mm.
It will shoot everybody. It's the person who discriminates. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we need that person. We need that level of discrimination in society in order to stop bad things happening. And also, when we make decisions, it's super important to understand that decisions don't just affect ourselves.
Mm.
Right? There's a lot of people thinking about. There's a lot of There's always a lot of me in the world. What can I get for me? How is this going to affect me? How can I benefit from this? But in the long term, that's really not the best road to go down, because life is a team sport, and without community, it's very hard to grow. And we need to have connections in those areas around about us. And also, when we make decisions, um, I don't think that the best decisions are always made with the head.
Mm.
I think they're made with this trifecta of your head, your heart, and your stomach, right? Now, your head is processing logical operations, and your heart is processing, emotional operations, and your gut is processing, I think, some kind of deeper spiritual, sort of physical, spirit, sort of semi-spiritual physical elements of your environment. If I give an example of, it's easy to understand the head and processing calculations. It's easy to understand the heart and emotions, but the gut is more difficult to understand. For example, somebody cooked a meal for me the other day, and I decided not to eat the meal, which was a very difficult decision to do. But I decided not to eat the meal because my stomach told me not to eat the meal. My stomach said, don't eat the food. It wasn't my brain, it wasn't my heart. Your brain says you need food. Your heart says somebody cooked for you. But your stomach says that's not good. Right? And very often these elements can be in conflict with each other as well. It's better if they're all in harmony, but the conflict can also exist within ourselves. It usually does. And so when we make a decision, it's important to align those parts and realize that there's going to be logical elements to it, there's going to be emotional elements to it, and there's going to be things that our experience leads us to understand, but we don't really fully know everything about. And if you can navigate those elements of self-discussion and you can keep all the doors open, that's a success. That's a great success. It's also a success to move on. It's also an understanding of time. I think that I think that technology is going to change dramatically over the next year and 2 years. Even things are going to develop even faster. The speed of processing is going to skyrocket, and we will be as a society and a world, we will be very, very, very lucky to navigate that time without greater conflicts. And when there are greater conflicts, you need some level of security around about you. And that is, that's the long-term employment with the company that knows you and you know them, and an understanding that you can't do any more than tell people you want to grow, and then allow them to create an environment for that growth. It's child and parent. Employee and employer is child and parent.
Yeah.
Yeah. The child is like, I want to do this. So the parent sort of tries to provide an environment or a framework for those things to happen. And the company is hopefully a framework for the employees to have that growth. And having trust in the right people around about you really matters in that area. So well, as I said, keeping the door open matters.
Yeah.
And here's a thought, right? To reject something and to accept something can be the same thing. Yeah. It is you can argue both are important, but you got to put down something before you pick up something, right? That's the process of moving forward. And it's not really, it's not, to accept reality is not really a rejection of anything. It's just acceptance.